Great to have with us today a couple of guests. We have got the president of Dixie Youth Baseball, Kent Bruxvoort, and William Wade, who is the commissioner of DYB. Kent and William, great to have you with us.
Yeah, glad to be here, Robert.
Thank you, Robert, for having us again.
I want to start the conversation because a big decision has been made where Dixie Youth Baseball is concerned, and the big decision is in regards to World Series and the play that will not happen this summer for the first time in 60-plus years. But before we get to that, Kent, I want to start with you from the perspective of when did we know that there was some problems with getting the regular season underway because of the COVID-19 situation, and maybe take us through some of the steps that Dixie Youth Baseball followed to try to come up with a game plan that initially stalled things and now has decided that the best case scenario is to let states handle their regular seasons, but there won't be a World Series. So how did we get from there to here?
I think really timeline, we're much like everything else to do with COVID-19. And so early to mid-March, I think when things really started happening fast, right? Everybody was aware probably January, February, but realistically, it was March. I mean, personally, I was still traveling until the middle of March and didn't think a thing about it, right? But, William was monitoring some things then. And once things started shutting down quickly, I think it was very evident that we were going to have issues. And at that point, we met as executive committee probably the middle of March and said, we need to just monitor this because we don't know if this is a 2-week thing or a 2-month thing. Or we really don't know, right? We're like everybody else. So I think that's our first blush. And I'm sure, in different states, people were at different points of time already, right? There was people like probably in Florida that were maybe already starting to play regular season games by that point in time. And there were states, or more northern states like Virginia, who probably were still at best getting teams picked. So it's really middle of March. I don't think we weren't ahead of the U.S. curve any more than anybody else was, I don't think. When it happened, we kind of were aware and we took it from there. So, it's been really almost a 2-month journey from let's see what happens. Let's wait 2 weeks. Let's see what happens in 2 weeks. William continued to put out information to our leagues and our directors about here's what we're seeing. In the end, though, the way we're organized, it's really every state, every organization, they have to follow the guidelines in their local area, right? So it's really not in our control when it comes to what happens before our World Series. So we kind of addressed it that way and went from there.
Did I guess for the lack of a better word, did the trickle or the flow of information, did it come from the top down, or did you start getting inquiries from some of the leagues first, or was it kind of a combination of the two before you decided, okay, we need to at least get a plan in place to begin evaluating the status on a fairly frequent basis as to what to do?
I would say really, Robert, it came both ways, right? From the top down, we obviously were starting and telling people, hey, here's what we're seeing. You need to follow local. But I'm sure, and William can respond here too, that he had a lot of correspondence coming from league up or from state directors, district directors, kind of the same thing. So, I think we got there in the middle, right? Obviously, our leagues want to play baseball one way or another, and our job was to help guide them. But William, you can probably tell them more of what's really your process of what you've seen.
Yeah, Kent and Robert, I mean, what we really kind of saw early on was, the reports coming in from the different areas, especially like in the Virginia area where they extremely harder hit than most of us in Dixie Youth. But we started seeing some reports from there, and then we started researching more with the CDC, their guidelines. And then, as you know, once the news cycle picked this stuff up and it was, the constant news that we're seeing from there, we started trying to formulate our plan, as Kent said, from the middle, a little bit from the top and a little bit from the bottom. And we tried to err on the side of caution as much as possible.
I know there was a meeting, or at least I understand that there was going to be a meeting on the 12th to make a decision. Was that moved up? And what were the factors considered that eventually led to the cancellation of the World Series?
So yeah, we were obviously monitoring all these things. We started out probably by the 1st of April with an executive committee that said we need to make a decision by May 15 on a World Series, and that's based upon we really feel the most important thing for our leagues is regular season play. That involves all of the children, all the kids at all ages, and they have to have a certain amount of time for that. So we kind of backed into when would a decision have to be made based upon when would things be able to start. And we followed that. We also followed and talked with the other organizations in USA Baseball. You know, what are they seeing? What are they doing? Because this isn't a competitive thing, right? At this point in time, this is a safety issue, right? We have in the meat industry, we talk about food safety is not competition, yet you're allowed to talk to each other. This was the same way. So we monitored all of that. We have some guidelines of when we can call a special board meeting. And basically at the last week of April, we said, we're ready to make a decision. And we set the the May 12th date based upon our guidelines. William had been having meetings periodically with the state directors to get input. And we had that meeting and we just felt that people were ready to make a decision so next decisions could be made. So we did move our meeting up by a week and we had it this past Monday night.
So am I kind of understanding that maybe part of the logic behind moving the meeting up was to be able to give states the opportunity, should they want to move forward with their leagues, to really give them a little extra time to begin that planning process?
Yeah, at this point, we allowed our states to start planning, right? So individual states can now say, we no longer have a deadline of we must complete tournament play by the third week of July so we can meet a World Series time. They can now say, hey, if we can't start playing regular season until June, we could potentially still have district tournaments, state tournaments, whatever they can do into August or even later, because there's no longer an end to the season. So yeah, we really wanted to get to the point where they could start planning at the state level of what their state could do. And every, like William said earlier, right now, Virginia is the last state that's going to open up really much of anything. So, they can start going, okay, if we don't open until June 15, can we play baseball in July? What could we do, right? And other states that opened earlier could have their own decisions on that. So yeah, we really decided it was time, and other organizations had made their decisions, and we felt we just need to get done as well.
And William, where the cancellation of the World Series is concerned, was there a single item that pushed it to that point of now's the time to cancel? And it looks like, William, we've lost his transmission, so I'll revert that to you, Kent. Was there something in particular that's determined that this is why we need to cancel the World Series?
Yeah, I think in the end, there's a number of factors. Obviously, the first one's just straight safety. And we just don't feel that this year, with all the different rules, regulations by state, by locality, that we could ask people to go to a multi-state tournament. So we could say, hey, we need your team to play. We need your team to go through state tournaments to qualify, and then we need you to go somewhere. And we were afraid that people would just say, that's just not what we should be doing this year. There's secondary things along with the host of, if you had a tournament, would everybody come? Would some states say we can't, we couldn't play? Would it be fair to the host to have a tournament that didn't have the full complement of teams? But really, it came down to, we just felt that from a safety standpoint, this is not the year to have a World Series.
William, I know we lost you for just a moment. We got you back. I thought something was wrong when I said either William has left us or he's asleep, because you were very still, but we had lost you. The question in regards to the leagues that may play, are they still, I know they're under guidelines established by Dixie Youth Baseball, but issues like social distancing where fans are concerned, or when they play a state tournament, if they play it, when they begin a regular season, or how long that regular season can begin or last, is that all to the discretion of each state, or will the head organization play any role in those decision-making?
Robert, all of the health and safety guidelines will come from federal, state, and local governments, as well as the CDC. all of our leagues that are playing, you know, when they are able to play, they'll follow those guidelines. As an organization, we offer some recommendations of what we think you should be doing. But the bottom line is all of those guidelines are going to be dictated to all of us by the federal, state, local governments, and the CDC.
Kent, where the season is concerned from a World Series perspective, I know when you've got college athletes, you've got eligibility issues and the like. I'm assuming it's like skipping the year. There's not any change in age allowances or eligibility allowances, that you basically, from a World Series perspective, have skipped 2020.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's no change, right? We don't have that option of letting them come back for another year at a different age. You know, we really hate it. I mean, I know there's people that were pointed toward this. I mean, I can tell you that 20 years ago, when my son was a 12-year-old, we went into the season with a goal of making the World Series, and a very realistic goal, and we did, right? We would have been extremely disappointed to not have that as a goal. And I know there's a lot of kids that feel that way, but you know, in the end, we're hoping they get a regular season play. You know, if they actually get to play baseball this year, we're hoping they potentially can have some level of tournament play. So, you know, it's not, we're hoping a lost season, just a lost World Series.
And William, speaking of the lost World Series and skipping 2020, is everything moved to 21? Are the host cities for this year now the host cities for 21, and the ones for 21 now in 22? Is everything just pushed back a year?
Yeah, we had discussions with all of our World Series hosts for 2020 and 2021, just to get some feedback from them as we tried to formulate our plan. Lumberton, North Carolina, they had reached out to us and offered. They're our 2021 Division I host, and they had offered graciously that should we cancel this year and need to move this year's World Series back to back to Laurel, that they would be happy for us to do that. And Dothan said the same thing. So now we're looking at in 2021, we'll be in Laurel, Mississippi, with all 8 of our World Series, Division I and Division II. And then in 2022, we'll be in Lumberton, North Carolina, for the Division I World Series, and then Dothan, Alabama, for the AA.
Kent Bruxvoort, William Wade, president of Dixie Youth Baseball and the commissioner of Dixie Youth Baseball. Great to have you with us. Thanks for taking time out quickly, because I know the decision was made, I guess, about 24, 36 hours ago. And when I got on the horn or via text with William, he said, yeah, we'll put something together. I know that our audience wants to, may have other questions too. Is there anywhere they go or can go to get information in regards to any new developments or any changes where Dixie Youth is concerned?
Yes, on our website, youth.dixie.org. We keep that updated there, as well as our social media, our Twitter, at DYB 1955. We have a Dixie Youth Facebook page, and we're constantly updating those things. And we do appreciate the opportunity to work with you again and trying to get the word out. And we appreciate the opportunity you've given us. And hopefully we can do more of this going forward.
We'll look forward to it. I know we're all disappointed that the World Series cannot go on, but understand these are really unique and odd circumstances that we are under, and erring on the side of caution is never a wrong thing to do with a child, that's for sure. So Kent and William, thanks so much for chatting with us.
Thank you, Robert.
Hey, thank you, Robert. And as we close, I would just like to say, you know, again, thank you to all of our first responders and our healthcare professionals for what they're doing in this historic pandemic. I can't imagine what they're going through, but we appreciate them. So be praying for those people as well.
Indeed. And for those who do get to play Dixie Youth Baseball in the regular season, good luck. And again, thanks to Kent and William.